Hello, 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 and welcome to my podcast. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. I'm your boy, Carl E. Long, and welcome again to my podcast. So glad that you're joining me again today, guys. So let's just get right into what America is talking about. Things are getting tough, guys. It's getting thick. It's getting really thick. So I just want to preface today's topic is why are Americans not outraged with what is going on in America? Why? That's the question that we have posed today. Why is it? This is getting so crazy that we need to know that things are moving very quickly and things are happening, some good, some really bad, but it's just so much, they're flooding the zone that we can't keep up. But it's getting to be very serious, guys. Very, very serious. And we need to start focusing, mobilizing, and let's get together and get this thing done. This only been like, 4 weeks now? And it feels like 4 years. And we got 4 years of this crap. So it's got to get going. So what I did today was I wanted to just go through a bunch of the things that are happening to see if I can get those of you that are just sitting around, not really caring about anything. And I know that a lot of us are tired. I know the black ladies, you guys are on break, but it's time. It's time, guys, to get up and do what you can do, because it's going to take all of us to fight this machine, to keep our country from turning into something that you don't recognize. It's getting very close, and it could very well happen. We have all the signs right now. We had all the signs before the election, but of course, when Trump had the assassination attempts on his life, things got really calming, and the Democrats calmed down. Nobody was talking about he was a threat to democracy when he truly is. Nobody was saying that. Project 2025, he disavowed it. So the media squelched everything that we were done there. So that was quieted down. So we let this thing happen. We did. I didn't, because I voted for Kamala. Those of you that didn't, this is what we're getting. And it's going to take us Democrats to get in here and clean this crap up. That's just what's going to happen, guys. That is what's going to happen. So I know that you are tired of all the rhetoric. You're tired of watching mainstream news. You're just tired. I know that. But we cannot sit around and watch this happen to our country, because, they're going into places now where you never thought they would go into. And it's going to affect everybody, including you Trump supporters. Don't think you're not going to be exempt for anything. It's going to hit you too. It's going to hit you too. And as much as you think that you are one of the ones that this is good for you, then let me just remind you once again of, this is my guy, TikToker, the 4 types of Trump voters. I'm going to play this probably a lot. Let's listen to him again. There are 4 types of Trump voters. And if you voted for Donald Trump, you are probably, or most likely, in one or more of these categories. Here we go.
People who voted for Donald Trump fall in 4 categories. This is a hard science. I do not make the rules, and these categories are not mutually exclusive. There's a lot of overlap, and these categories are not unique to Trump supporters. Number 1, an ignorant person. This person is characterized by their lack of knowledge. A lot of these people will have some humility. If you were to ask them, hey, do you know a lot about politics? They'd probably say no. A lot of these people also probably voted for Donald Trump because of the economy, despite not knowing any of his economic policies or not knowing any of the economic policies of Biden or Harris. This person just genuinely lacks knowledge in politics, and that does not absolve them of any sort of responsibility or taking any sort of, credibility and accountability about this administration, but they lack knowledge. That's their biggest fault. Number 2 is going to be a stupid person. This person is characterized by their lack of intelligence. They may actually be really into politics, but everything they believe is just outright insane or false. This is going to be like your QAnon conspiracy theorists, the Trump supporters who thought that the Hawaii fires were Chinese space lasers. These people, you can talk to them in the sense that they're very into politics, but they're very tapped into whatever they just read or see on Facebook. There's no getting pass to them, because it's not just that they lack knowledge, it's that they don't know how to reason through the things that they see on the internet. Number 3 is going to be your dishonest actor. And this is going to be someone who is intelligent, who does know a lot, maybe even is really good at reasoning, but just dishonestly reasons and runs defense for Donald Trump despite knowing that he lies so much, including lies about the election, lies about CV-19, etc., etc. This person is going to be your pundits, your politicians. They act in a way that is completely motivated to just run defense for the Republican Party no matter what. And this person may have some deep-seated cultural conservative beliefs, and that's ultimately why they run defense, despite knowing better and knowing that this is ultimately just a game to them. Number 4 is going to be your genuinely hateful person. This person identifies more with Donald Trump and the Republican Party because they just can't stand the existence of trans people. They can't stand the existence of gay people. They do not want to see any minority group succeed. They believe that it is the fault of poor people that they are poor. This is many of your billionaires. They're acting in self-interest despite knowing that it's leading to, the destruction of our country and degrading us into fascism. But they don't care because it's all out of both malice and self-interest. Those are your 4 people. If you voted for Donald Trump, you fall in at least one of those categories. It's a hard science. I don't make.
Booyah, there you are. Now that third category is the most irritating category. These are your Republican, spineless people who are going defense on Donald Trump no matter what. There's absolutely nothing that he does wrong. Absolutely nothing. Seriously? Even I question things that Joe Biden did and Barack Obama and Kamala as well. Y'all can't find not one single thing that is irritating you guys. Nothing. I mean, I don't even know why we're having these hearings on the secretary positions, because you're asking all these questions, and then you're voting them right in. What difference does it make? We're just going through the motion, guys, because that number 3 group, that's the most dangerous group. Outside of number 4, which are the people that just are total racist, hate people. So, there's some hope for the group number 1 that just don't know any better. The number 2, conspiracy. No, nothing you can do with that. Y'all see what we're working with? Y'all see what we're working with right here? It is crazy what we're having to deal with Donald Trump and his minions. So I'm angry, and I want to know, why aren't you angry about what's going on? I don't understand it. I never will. And I'm sorry, I will never understand a Donald Trump running this country. This is humiliating. It's deplorable. It is exhausting. Everything is just so horrible about everything that he's doing right now. And I can't deal. So this is my way of getting the word out and making sure that you're fired up and understand what's happening in our country. So let's listen to Joy Reid. She's going to give you a whole bunch of things here of what's going on. So this is the Joy Reid report. Let's listen to Joy. Here we go.
About to flow to Trump's friends and cronies is likely going to make your head spin. All funded by you, the taxpayer. On top of you having to fund the gargantuan additional tax cut Republicans are prepping so the super rich can pay as close to zero in taxes as possible. Not to mention you footing the bill on those 25% tariffs on your Colombian coffee and anything that's imported from Mexico, Canada, and Panama. Oh yeah, and just wait till Trump launches his Putin-style military assault on Greenland and Panama. Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and the other defense behemoths are gonna bathe in contractor cash, which is really super profitable. War is like the most profitable thing. So while you're focused on the terror raids and the firings and the End Black History Month and the fake piety about merit, while Trump hires literal TV personalities to run his government, Trump and friends are preparing to pull off what amounts to a giant bank robbery. Guys, they're gonna loot the federal government, hand out contracts to their friends who no longer have to worry about hiring black folks, women, disabled veterans, LGBTQ folks, anybody who might not go along with the scam. Because when you're preparing to start the steal, you know what you don't need hanging around? Witnesses. Like, say, longtime civil servants who make the government run, whether their president is someone they voted for or not. You don't want civil servant witnesses around when you start the steal, because they might tell. You know who won't tell? Cronies who got their jobs only because they pledged total.
So there you go. That's the Joy Reid. Joy is just putting stuff out there, guys. We're trying to pound it. All this stuff is going on right now. You need to be angry. They are basically taking the American government and using it as a big business deal. You know, contracts are going to be going crazy. Elon is getting all of the leads that he needs for every country. This man is just, I mean, how much power does one need? How much power does one need? And you got to look at this. The American people are nowhere in these conversations. You're being used. We are being used. There's no focus on us. Not right now. They said it'll come later. When? Not right now. There's nothing being done here for the American people. Trust me. Nothing is being done. So my boy Michael Steele, who's on The Weekend on MSNBC, he's a former lieutenant governor of Maryland. He's also a former chairman of the Republican Party. He was around the Mitt Romney time and the last part of George Bush. And he's a good guy, but he is so out of the Republican Party. It's ridiculous. But I want to see how Michael is going to rev you up to get mad and put some fire under yourself. Here you go, Michael Steele.
What would you have us do?
I would actually, you know what? I'd just like you to show that you give a damn. That you got a little emotion about the fact that people are losing their jobs indiscriminately. Mm-hmm. That this individual sitting down the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has given absolute power to one man who brings his son into the Oval Office, whose son says to him, "You're not the president. You shouldn't be in that chair." Now, where did he get that from? He got it from his daddy, because that's what his daddy thinks of the man who brought him into the Oval Office. So I just like to see somebody wake the hell up and get excited about the fact that your country is under assault. They're not at the gate anymore. They're in your bedrooms. They're in your living rooms. They're in your businesses. They got your data, dumbass. They got all your stuff. Elon Musk has his tentacles in everything you're doing, not just off of X, but now he's in the Treasury Department. He's in the Labor Department. He's in the Department of Homeland Security. And nobody seems to give a damn. So that's all I want, somebody to show that they care enough to get off their fat ass and say something about it.
Whoa! That was deep, Michael. He is upset, and I don't blame him. That's the way I'm feeling too, guys. We can't sit back and let this happen. We can't do it. We feel helpless because no matter what happens, if Donald Trump is impeached, we still have to deal with whoever they put in the office. So there's just like, I feel trapped. I don't know about you, but I feel trapped. The Democrats are out there scrambling to get things done, but it's coming at them so quickly they can't concentrate on one thing. So they're having to mobilize. And some of the other Democratic congressmen that you never hear about, we need to hear some other names. Jasmine Crockett and Maxwell and the ones that you're hearing the names of all the time, and Corey. But where is everybody else? Hakeem, y'all, what are y'all doing? I need to hear some of these names I've never heard before and what you're doing to help get this thing together. All right. So that's what we have going on here. So this is what irks me even more than that are the polls. When I saw the first poll came out, I was like, really? His favorability rating is going up? What the hell is going on? I mean, as a whole, you can look at it two different ways. It says 73% of people that said that say that Donald Trump is doing exactly what he says he's going to do. They didn't say if it was right or wrong, but they're using that poll to make it sound like there's a positive, support behind the president. Well, there really isn't. So let me just read what the polls were. And these were just done recently, polls here. So it says, in the initial weeks of President Donald Trump's second term, public opinion has been notably divided. A CBS News government poll conducted from February 5th to 7th indicates that 70% of Americans believe Donald Trump is fulfilling his campaign promises with an overall approval rating of 53%. 53%. That's high. Similarly, a Pew Research Center from early February 2025 showed that 73% of Americans acknowledge Trump has clear goals for the country, though only 35% support all or most of his policy. That's a sign that people are paying attention. That's good right there. However, not all feedback is positive. A Marquette Law School poll released on February 12th reveals strong public opposition to certain policies such as the Gulf of Mexico renaming and the pardoning of the January 6th guys. Additionally, a YouGov poll from February 9th to 11th indicates that a decline in approval rating. So it went down. That's a good thing, with 49% approving and 43% disapproving President Trump's overall performance. So it's going down. That's a good sign. These mixed reactions highlight the polarized views among Americans regarding President Trump's early actions in his second terms. All right, so he was in his honeymoon period, so he came out with 53. He's down to 49%. That's a good sign. That's a good sign that you guys are at least waking up. And people are starting to see that it's affecting them. Do y'all think that all these people they're laying off are Democrats, are people of color? A large number of them are people of color because the Maryland, D.C. area they call D.C. Chocolate City. In that area has a large African American population, and there are not a lot of places to work in Washington. Most people work in government, civil service, and a lot of those people are African American, and it's a large percentage of African Americans that work there. So they are the ones that's primarily getting laid off. But there's some Trump supporters in there that are getting their lives turned upside down because of the person they voted for. So we hope to see some turnaround from some fire from some of you, so that you know that people are starting to engage and polarize and see that this ain't working. We are on the brink of something terrible, guys, and you have to pay attention. So let's look at this next thing. I think this is MSNBC on a tweet. I don't know what you call it, tweet from Truth Social, a Truth Social tweet, whatever you call them, that he did. And let's just talk about that. So I'll meet you here on the other side. Here we go.
Back to the weekend. We start this hour with an alarming statement from Donald Trump. In a post online, Trump said yesterday, "He who saves his country does not violate any law."
Okay, I want to stop right there. He who saves his country does not violate any law. When I first saw that, I said, did you get that from the Bible? Where did you get that from? I was like, what kind of crap is that? He who saves his country does not violate any law. Y'all, he's setting us up. He's setting us up to let you know that he is not going to follow the Constitution. The judiciary is coming at him. He doesn't want to follow the rules. Congress is coming at him. He doesn't want to follow the rules. So let's see what else we have here.
On the post online, Trump said yesterday, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." Now, that's a line, folks, of, that's often attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte, the French general who staged a military coup before declaring himself emperor. More than 200 years later, Trump isn't using the military, but the legal system to bend America to his will. As the Brennan Center describes it, he's trying to turn the Justice Department into his own private law enforcement agency. Joining us now is founder of Democracy Docket and partner at Elias Law Group, Mark Elias.
Mark Elias, we were debating this morning whether that quote from Trump had come from the Old Testament or the New Testament or the Book of Donald. Now we know it came from Napoleon Bonaparte. That kind of tells you all you need to know, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, I'm sure Donald Trump doesn't know where it came from, but yes, that's exactly right. It is the statement of a dictator being uttered, or in this case, written on social media by a wannabe dictator. We have known that he wants to be a dictator because he has told us that. He said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. Well, he took a number of actions that were consistent with that. We know that he said that you don't have to worry about elections in the future. Well, I think we're going to see, unfortunately, more of him attacking free and fair elections as we move through the year. But he is acting as if somehow, number one, he is saving the country rather than destroying it. But number two, that he is above the law. And in this country, no man is above the law. Even Donald Trump is not above the law. He may have immunity from criminal prosecution, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have to comply with court orders. And he is losing in case after case after case. And I suspect that frustration is showing up in some of his posts on social media.
And that frustration, Mark, is showing up in other areas as well. To your point about the fact that he's losing these cases, you now have reporting from Axios that Republicans, you remember them, right? They're now moving to impeach judges who blocked Trump. Quote, House Republicans are planning to introduce long-shot articles of impeachment against at least two of the federal judges who have blocked President Trump's efforts to upend the federal government. The measures are part of a growing public conflict between Republicans and the federal judiciary as Trump bristles at obstacles to his government efficiency agenda. Mark, this is...
Wow. Do y'all see what's going on here? Now they're trying to impeach judges. This is, that group number 3, Republicans, the spineless ninnies, will do anything that he wants. Y'all have to think about this. While Trump was out of office, these people have been meeting. They have been strategizing on how they're going to overthrow this government. I don't know if the Republicans really understand what is going on, or if they know that they're being used as pawns, but they're just afraid to be primary. Y'all know what primary mean. If they go against Donald Trump, he's going to put a candidate in there, and he's going to run them against them if they are coming up for re-election. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of losing their jobs. Yeah, like you're getting rid of all these other government jobs, but you're afraid of yours. I'm so done with Republicans. There's nothing I can say good about any of them except the ones that left and now are working to help get Donald Trump under control. So that is what is going on. And then you see what he put out there. This is the start of a dictator, guys. This is the start of a dictator. He's giving you all these little breadcrumbs. All this stuff is strategic. Donald Trump may be a dummy. I don't know who's in his ear. I don't know. He may be the mastermind. I don't know. Everybody's always trying to say that he doesn't know stuff. I think he knows a lot, to tell the truth. He knows how to do this. He's been doing it in business for years. Donald Trump's business has never been as profitable as he said it is, but he's always been able to maintain this facade that he was this rich billionaire, and we know now that he's not. And stands the reason why we never saw his books and things. He never turned over medical records or any of that kind of stuff. He didn't. So there we go. So that's another phase of what's going on. That ominous tweet, that was scary. That was a scary tweet. And you better trust and follow these breadcrumbs because they're going to lead to something. I guarantee. So here's the next big coup that's happening. And he wants to get his big tax cuts back because the one that he has in effect from his 4 years is about to come to expire. I think it may have expired. I don't know. It's coming up for expiration. And he's got to put it back out there. He's got to find a way to pay for it. He's already pushed the deficit up trillions of dollars because of it. So now they're looking for money. And where are they looking? Medicare and Medicaid. And listen to what this TikTok guy says right here. I don't know what his research is. He's from one of the agencies. He's got some insight, but we'll listen to what he's saying.
Tell our TikTok audience exactly what you just told me.
So basically today, the Republicans decided behind closed doors that they want to take $500 billion in funding for Medicaid, for health care, services that middle-class people really rely on, and they want to cut that funding and use it to pay for tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations.
How do funding cuts pay for tax cuts?
So it's a math problem, right? Tax cuts for rich people and billionaires are really, really expensive. They add trillions of dollars to the deficit, and we know this because the Republicans did this already in 2017 with their partisan tax bill. So what they're trying to do, behind closed doors, is take that $500 billion in services for middle-class people, for healthcare, for nutrition, all of that, and move it over and give it away as a handout to rich people.
And this is in addition to the $4.5 trillion they were going to add to the deficit that they announced yesterday?
That's right. It's another $500 billion added to the deficit potentially, and a blank check really to keep adding more and more money in deficit spending.
All right, thanks, Robert.
Now, if they go after Medicare and Medicaid, I think you people will probably wake up. I think you'll wake up. I know that I will. I've worked all my life here, and I'm just now turned 65, and I just started on Medicare. And I can't wait to start getting my Social Security money and things of that nature. So they're going to take money away from us? Really? This is how you're helping the American people? You're going to give it to the rich guys? Are y'all listening? Are you listening? They're doing this stuff behind closed doors. They have the votes. They can get the votes to do this. And we can't even stop them if they do it. I'm just thinking of all kinds of things that can come forward if they can try and get done before these midterms come along. This is getting so scary. So let's talk about some more grooming for our country that is happening. They're grooming our country for a takeover. Listen to this.
Whereas dictatorship is based on terror. The issue is that democracy is based on trust, whereas dictatorship is based on terror. If you systematically destroy trust in institutions, destroy trust in the media, in academia, in the courts, and so forth, some people think that this is liberating the people from these institutions. Right. It's not. When you destroy all trust, the only thing that can still work is a dictatorship. Right. So this is what would-be dictators do. They systematically destroy trust. And the other thing to realize is that the vast majority of information is not truth. A key misconception, especially in places like Silicon Valley, is to equate information with truth. Most information is junk. I mean, the truth is a very rare and costly and precious sub-kind of information. Because, to write a truthful story, you need to invest a lot of time and effort and money in research and fact-checking, whereas fiction is very, very cheap.
The entire Trump campaign was built on lies and deceit, and a lot of you fell for it. And you see with this guy is from a country that he knows how dictatorships start. They are making us feel like that all these agencies are gouging, they're taking your money, and da-da-da. That's not happening, guys. Surely there needs to be some cuts. Surely we may have some wasteful spending. Government is very slow with technology. There's probably some holes. It needs to be cleaned up. I agree with that. But gotten rid of? I do not. Quit sending mistrustful messages to the American people as if all these agencies have been here for years and years just to take your money. Things are working. I mean, they even tried to lay off, the other day, they were trying to lay off some guys that actually turned out to be the ones that nuclear scientists, the nuclear program, they were the ones that work on with the atomic bomb that we have. Yeah, this is them just they don't know anything. They're just trying everything, and they're making you feel like the government has been hiding all this stuff from you for many years. A lot of it's not hiding. It's been there available. We, like me, I'm guilty. We just don't go out and read about our government. We need to understand everything about our government. So many of us are so uninvolved. Some of us don't even vote. You don't even know what's going on. These agencies have been around a long time. They do a lot of good things, way more than they're doing bad things. Do they need some trim? Possibly. Yes, because over years, things just kind of get, every company does that. That's normal. But it does not need to ring the alarm. There's no need to be getting rid of the Department of Education. There's no need to be going through the Treasury like you're going through it. Everybody's saying that we are really kind of getting on the guys that came in there to help the Doge, that we haven't given them a chance. You don't go in there with programmers and techie guys. If you're going to do an audit, you go in there with auditors, accountants, bean counter people, looking at books, not going in with jump drives. What are you getting? Do you understand that? This is the place, Medicare, Medicaid, all the things, all the medications that you're on, whatever you're getting paid for, grants, all that stuff is personal information, and they've given him carte blanche. Luckily, a judge has stopped it for a little while, but it's temporary. But still, we don't know how long that's going to last. Don't know how long. So listen to this TikToker on the Constitution. I like what he said. Take a listen.
I am flabbergasted at the amount of people in my comments right now saying, oh, America can't become a dictatorship because it's in our Constitution. Do you think that countries that fall to dictatorship just forgot to write the rule to keep that from happening? That most countries that just collapse just forgot to write the rule to say, hey, don't collapse, don't let some evil guy come into power. Law like that didn't happen. Dictators come into power because they take over the military, or the military agrees with the person, and then they take over the government. That's a dictatorship. And then they force the people to do work so they generate income for the 1%. That's a dictatorship. And that happens because they say, oh, hey, this country's constitution is just a piece of paper. And then they do it anyway. This isn't a hard concept. Did you attend 8th grade?
Did you attend 8th grade? He makes a great point, though, guys. They don't care about the Constitution. It's a piece of paper to them. They don't care about it. Do you know that Donald Trump was on Brett Baier on Fox in an interview, and Brett brought up the number that Kamala got, the popular vote, trying to make him understand that he did not overwhelmingly beat Kamala Harris. And he made an accusation because they cheated. He thinks that we cheated. He really thinks that he got more votes than he got for the election. No, you didn't. Kamala did a very good campaign. If we had maybe 4 more weeks, 1 more month, your presidential self, I almost said something, would not be there. We needed more time. She did a great job. But guys, he's grooming. He is on 3 different occasions where he's spoken. He's questioned, can I be president again? I don't know. Can I be? This guy wants to stay. He wants to stay. And all kinds of things could happen. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that he can't come back as vice president. He could run for Senate. He could be back in there any kind of way. Donald Trump has to be stopped at whatever cost it's going to take. One that we know is going to be ironclad, because he can come back. I mean, they're joking about him being a 3rd term, but all they got to do is get the votes. Take it to Congress. Things could happen. It's in the Constitution. Are y'all listening to me? Understand what's happening. You need to be upset, and you need to be trying to mobilize and do something. I don't know what that is. If it's doing a podcast like me, do it. Call your congressman, something. But we can't sit back and do nothing. All right. So that's scary. Isn't that scary? It's very scary, and I'm not understanding why there's no fire under people. There's a bunch of people that are out there that's fire, but it's the same old people. We need some new blood. Some of you that have taken a little rest. All right, so let's talk about Greenland. This is something crazy. Let's listen to this on Donald Trump taking Greenland.
Of America. We are learning about a disastrous phone call that took place recently between Donald Trump and Mette Frederiksen, the Prime Minister of Denmark. Donald Trump re-emphasized that he wanted to conquer Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. He said he was serious, hand it over right now, to which the Prime Minister of Denmark said, no, it belongs to us, to which Donald Trump said, we'll see about that. Multiple people who were familiar with this phone call said it was an utter disaster, that Donald Trump was rude, that he was yelling, that he was trying to bully the Prime Minister of Denmark, that she stood her ground. But anybody who was on that phone call that thought, oh, this is some negotiation ploy by Donald Trump, they left that call saying, no, Donald Trump intends to try to use military force against Denmark. And Denmark and the European Union need to now prepare their military to try to counter whatever the hell Donald Trump thinks he's going to do. This, as Donald Trump has continued to reiterate that he wants to annex Canada, turn it into the 51st state, or else he will impose severe punishment on Canada. Donald Trump has turned the entire world in just one quick week against the United States of America. America finds itself literally right now with zero friends. If you take a look at the World Health Organization map showing all of the...
All right, so there you go. Greenland. Why Greenland? And y'all, the one thing that is so scary is that the president is the commander-in-chief over the military. A president cannot declare war. Congress has to do that. But militarization, he can do stuff with the military. He can have them occupy Greenland, just be there. Do you know what I mean? And then in some kind of, there's ways around this. And you see how he bullied. There's a woman leader. You know, we know how he feels about women. And he's bullying them. That is Denmark's. Greenland belongs to Denmark. And when did we get into the business of colonization and stealing countries, sovereign countries? Why are we doing this? So I just looked up, why Greenland? Why Greenland? So former President Donald Trump, this was back when he wasn't president, expressed interest in acquiring Greenland for several reasons. Primarily, it's about strategic and economic interest. Greenland's location is geopolitically significant, sitting between North America and Europe, and it offers a critical vantage point for monitoring Arctic activities. The island also has abundant natural resources, including minerals, oil, and natural gas, which could be economically beneficial. Additionally, there's a historical context to this interest. The U.S. has long sought to expand its influence in the Arctic region, and Greenland fits into this broader strategy of countering Russian and Chinese ambitions in the area. Now, when it says the U.S. wants to get into those regions, that means like working with, things of that nature, partnering with, not acquiring and taking over a country. That's not what that means. So I think he's going to run into some problems here because Putin doesn't like that. Putin does not want the U.S. on that. This is what Putin's take is on us acquiring Greenland. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his administration have been vocal in their opposition to the idea of the U.S. acquiring Greenland. They see it as a potential threat to the stability and peace in the Arctic region. Putin's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, emphasized that Russia is closely monitoring the situation and is concerned about the implications for international law and regional stability. Okay. Russian state media and officials have also suggested that the U.S. acquiring Greenland could lead to increased military tensions in the Arctic. They argue that such a move could provoke further geopolitical competitions in the regions, which Russia views as strategically important. Okay. In essence, Putin and his administration are worried that the U.S. acquisition of Greenland could disrupt the balance of power in the Arctic and lead to a more militarized and unstable region. So Putin wants that land as well. And he's not too happy that Donald Trump is going after that. If y'all notice something, Donald Trump, in all his negotiations with Putin, if there are any, and this is so funny that they're negotiating the fate of Ukraine without the President Zelensky. This is just crazy. And I told y'all on the last podcast, well, two episodes ago, that when they released that hostage, that there was some negotiations in there. Something that we don't know about. And I think that part of that is Ukraine. He made some restitutions about Ukraine to Putin. And that makes him appear very, very weak. That means that Putin is winning. And even Zelensky is out there saying this is making Donald Trump look very weak. Very weak. You know, on Greenland. Oh my God, this is crazy. Do y'all see how this is not normal things? The U.S. is not this kind of. We are a peace nation. We are part of the North American Treaty Organization. We want world peace. That's what we do. We don't go out and acquire sovereign nations like Panama, Canada, and Greenland. That's not what we do. But we do name Gulfs. We change the names of Gulfs, which that one apparently has been adopted by Google and some other people. This is getting awfully into the danger zone. All right, so here's one that snuck in on us. Elizabeth Warren, one of my favorite senators. This particular executive order was not signed with all the pomp and circumstance from the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. This one kind of snuck in overnight. He signed this overnight. But listen to Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Why is nobody talking about this? Abortion access and reproductive health care are under direct assault. Donald Trump signed a bunch of executive orders rolling back abortion protections. Trump is putting women all around the world at risk by defunding health centers if they provide, promote, or even talk about abortion. And he's made it more dangerous for women right here in the United States, even in states where abortion is legal, to walk safely from their cars to the front door of an abortion clinic. Think about that. Women are more likely now to be harassed between the car and the front door of a clinic because Donald Trump signed an executive order in the middle of the night. Let's be clear, there is a reason this flew under the radar. Trump signed these executive orders in the middle of the night because he was hoping nobody would notice. This is and always has been about controlling women.
Y'all see that? He knows that if he brings that abortion thing up, nobody's been talking about it now. He's going to get those women back. He's going to get those women back on him. Signed it in the middle of the night. Oh, my God. So, do y'all see what I'm saying? Flooding the zone, sneaking things in. That one just probably showed up on whitehouse.gov with no pomp and circumstance, but he wrote an executive order. I'll talk more about what all that's in that order, but a lot of it is making it criminal for women to even go to other states and things of that nature. I think it's part of it, but he's trying to put an executive order on some abortion things. I mean, he lied about his stance on abortion the whole time he was campaigning. Lied. Listen to me, Trump voters. Your president has been lying to you continuously, and you don't care. I don't understand that. And you don't care. So, if this is what you want, this is what you're getting. Now, meanwhile, in my dear state of Texas, where immigration is king, I want you to listen to this exchange from a state representative, congressman, legislator in the state house of Texas. And the state house in Texas is so unbalanced. It's so red. It's ridiculous. On an immigration law, and he's trying to really reason with his peers in Congress of the Texas State House, and it's kind of heart-wrenching for him to even go there, but you can't even reason with these people. They're so hard. They want to be in power so bad. It's white fragility, white men, and it's just, there's no reaching them. There's no reaching them. So let's listen to this heartfelt appeal to his constituents, not his constituents, to his peers in the Texas State House.
On a daily goddamn basis.
They can't stand
I've been
on this
sitting
bill.
there my whole goddamn time listening to y'all motherfuckers. It pisses me off.
All these
I love
cowards.
you, but this fucking hurts. The shit that happens on this goddamn floor hurts. I can't go hang out with I can't drive my brother, my cousin. Okay? I can't take them anywhere, bro. I can't go to a border. I can't go to a baptism because my community is being attacked. Y'all don't understand the shit that y'all do hurts our community. It hurts us personally, bro. It hurts us.
Just let us debate it.
It hurts us to our fucking core. And y'all don't understand that. Y'all don't live in our fucking skin. Y'all don't, man. And that's what pisses me off. I sit there. I've been a good fucking soldier to him.
That's right.
To my own fucking detriment.
That's right.
To my own detriment. And to cut off debate when all of our members are trying to have a debate, a civil debate. Nobody's gotten crazy. We're just trying to have a debate. Let the chips fall where they may. We know where the bill's going.
Yeah, we know.
Let us debate what we need to debate. Let us blow some steam. An attack on the daily goddamn.
So in Texas, I mean, there's just no winning. There's no winning on anything. So this particular immigration bill, let me pull this up and tell you what's going on. They tried to do it before, and I think Joe Biden sued the state of Texas where it gave the immigration is a federal offense. So local and state have no jurisdiction over immigration. So what Texas wants to do is, if they stop anyone in a car or whatever for the suspicious, they can ask you if you are a United States citizen. You have to show a proof that you are. And they're not allowed to do that because they're not ICE. That's not for their jurisdiction. But the laws are stating that you don't have to sue it. You don't have to give it up, but they can still. But they're trying to make a law to say that you do. So let me just put this up. I got some stuff up here. As of February 2020, Texas lawmakers are considering legislation that would require individuals to provide proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. We know that. All right. Introduced by Senate Brian Hughes, this initiative aims to ensure that only U.S. citizens participate in elections. Okay. And that happens. Okay. I understand that particular one. Additionally, House Bill 2332 proposes that Texas driver's license and personal identification certificates issued to U.S. citizens display a certified Texan designator. This marker would serve as an official indication of the holder's citizenship status. Wow, Texas is it's horrible, guys. It is important to note that under Texas Department of Public Safety regulations, all applicants for a driver's license or identification card must already provide proof of U.S. citizenship or lawful presence. Acceptable documents include birth certificate, U.S. passport, or certificate of naturalization. You already have to do that anyway. So I asked the question to ChatGPT here. What about if they are stopped in the car while driving? And let's see what dear ChatGPT is saying while driving, and let's see what the law is going to say. I love ChatGPT, guys. If you don't have it, you need to get it because it's a wealth of information. What if they are stopped while driving law? So as of February 2025, Texas has enacted a legislation that impacts interactions between law enforcement and individuals regarding immigration status during traffic stops. Enacted in 2017, allows Texas law enforcement officers to inquire about a person's immigration status during routine detentions, including traffic stops. This means that during a traffic stop, an officer has the discretion to ask about your immigration status. However, it's important to note that officers do not have the legal authority to stop or arrest someone solely based on their perceived immigration status. So that's what Biden stopped. They can't arrest them. They can ask them. You can ask them anything you want. You don't have to answer. Your rights during traffic stop. You can right to remain silent. You're not obligated to answer any questions about your citizenship or immigration status. If you choose to remain silent, clearly state this to the officer. Required documentation is a valid driver's license and a proof of insurance. That's all you have to have. Avoid self-incrimination. Do not provide false documents or lie about your status. Stay calm and compliant. Even if you believe the stop is unjustified, it's advisable to remain calm and keep your hands visible and avoid any form of resistance. We already know that as black men, but Latinos, y'all need to learn. While SB 4 permits officers to inquire about immigration status, it does not mandate you to do so. So you see what I'm saying here? Let me just put that back up one more time so I can read that last part and tell you what it's saying here. If I can get it up. Here we go. On the last part, it says, put that on pause. While SB 4 permits officers to inquire about immigration status, it does not mandate that they do so. Policies and practices may vary by jurisdiction, and some local law enforcement agencies may choose to limit such inquiries. Okay? Given the involving nature of immigration laws and enforcement practices, it's crucial to stay informed. Y'all hear that? Stay informed. So all my Latino brothers and sisters, you don't have to say anything. Just be quiet. Give them your license, your proof of insurance. All you got to do. They can ask you. You don't have to say a word because they don't have jurisdiction over that. Okay. This is going to be a long one, guys. I'm sorry. But it's not sorry because you need to know this stuff. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So here's the plan about Ukraine. Let's listen to what's going on here.
You've previously said that you believe Putin sees Trump as what you described as an easy mark. You were there for their first meeting in Helsinki. What are your expectations for this one?
Well, I don't have any expectations anymore. I think we know exactly what's going to happen. President Trump has effectively surrendered to Putin before the negotiations have even begun. The positions that Defense Secretary Hegseth announced in Brussels, which I'm sure I'd be stunned if Trump didn't convey them directly to Putin in their phone call, constitute terms of a settlement that could have been written in the Kremlin. Maybe they were written in the Kremlin and got out in propaganda channels. But it's a complete reversal of the U.S. and NATO position on a number of issues. For example, up until today, the official American position was that Ukraine should be returned to full sovereignty and territorial integrity. That's gone. The question of NATO membership as far back as 2008 had been that ultimately Ukraine would become a NATO member. That doesn't look like that's around anymore either. Putin has scored a whole series of victories today. It's hard to encompass them all, but I think one, in addition to these substantive concessions, is that he has now, it seems, exactly what he wants. Putin doesn't want to negotiate with Zelensky. He wants to negotiate with Trump because he thinks he'll get more out of him. And he's absolutely right.
On your point that you just made about not having Ukraine be in NATO, borders returning to what they were pre-2014, which Hegseth said was off the table. If a Trump official was here tonight and they argued, well, that's just being realistic, what would you say to that?
I'd say that if you're going into a negotiation, you don't announce what's acceptable to you before it begins and give away positions. I tell you, I've done a lot of negotiation with the Russians, and there's no country out there that's better at pocketing concessions that you make and then wanting more. We used to joke in Soviet arms control days about a famous Russian negotiator who used to greet the Americans every morning with a jovial, well, what have you got for me today? And that's what we're hearing from Russia. This is something Putin prepared the ground for. You know, last week he said he agreed with Trump that in the comments Trump had made in the election that the war never would have taken place had Trump been president. So he began the flattery campaign, the release of Mark Fogel, the American hostage, part of the flattery warm-up campaign, make Trump look like the center of attention. Belarus's decision to release an American and a couple others, part of the flattery campaign. It's obviously working.
Trump said today also in his own readout of the call that he put out that Putin repeated back to him about using common sense to end the war. Do you think that that's part of that flattery campaign?
Right. Well, there was a tweet or whatever you call those things on Truth Social that said, Putin used my very effective campaign slogan, common sense. I think we all believe in common sense, but he noticed that Putin had picked up that line. It's another stroke of flattery. I mean, you got to say, Putin hasn't forgotten his lessons as a KGB agent maneuvering an operative around. And there are broader significances than just in Ukraine. This is a palpable harm to American national security, because what Hegseth and Trump did today was not only blow up the NATO position on Ukraine, they blew up a thing called the Belavasia Accords that Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia signed in December of 1991 that broke up the Soviet Union along the lines of the internal republics. So it means that not only is unprovoked aggression by Russia against Ukraine now okay, every other former republic in the Soviet Union is vulnerable to the same thing without any indication that the U.S. will do anything about it. And I think the people who are paying the closest attention to this outside of in Ukraine are in Beijing, where they see the United States unwilling to act against unprovoked aggression in the center of Europe. What are they thinking now about Taiwan?
Yeah, this is a mess, guys. This is a mess. Zelensky is getting a bad rap. So basically what's happening, Trump is going to force him to take the deal. The land that Putin is already captured, and he's already there, he wants that for sure. He wants that for sure. So that is a problem right there. He wants that for sure. And I don't know if he is going to get out of it. He's not going to get his land back. So that's the deal. And they're not meeting with Zelensky. They are meeting with Trump. Isn't that crazy? His country, but Trump and Putin are meeting to decide the fate of Ukraine. And Donald Trump is going to tell him, you will not get any more aid. You're going to be on your own if you don't take the deal. That's what's going to happen. That's what I believe is going to happen. So you hear that he was saying the flattery tour. Donald Trump is the type, you just got to flatter him and say, you're the greatest leader. You know, we know you're going to get it done. Stroking. That personality is just it's so easy to detect. You know, you're the best and you're the only one that can do that. That's all they got to do. And then they'll get everything done. So there we have it. That's what's going on with Ukraine, guys. So look forward to seeing Donald Trump fall to the whim of Putin. Putin will win. He will probably get Ukraine because Donald's not going to help him anymore. And this is a sad thing. This is a sad day. They're not going to let them in NATO. No. And all the sovereign nations that came out of Russia, you know, that Russia used to be, the USSR used to be a lot of nations. That's where Ukraine came out of. Belarus and some of the other nations that came out of that whole war. He's actually just, none of them are safe anymore. And then what's going to stop China from going after Taiwan? Taiwan is not a part of China, but China has always wanted them. So if they ever go to Taiwan is a part of NATO, I believe. But if they ever mess with Taiwan, then that'll start a disturbance, a war among the allies. Do you understand what I'm saying? But it's very complicated about this war stuff. But you got to know what's going on because that would mean that the United States would have to get involved. And right now, we're not in any war, so to speak, and we don't want to be. Okay, next subject really quick is the barring the Associated Press from the Oval Office. I heard about that because they would not say the Gulf of Mexico. Here's a video from Caitlin from CNN.
Official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night.
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the Geographical Identification Name Server, and Apple has recognized that, Google has recognized that, pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America, and it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world.
So there you go. That's from the White House press secretary. And, you know, those press secretaries of Trump's, I could not. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, oh my God, she was the worst. I couldn't even listen to her. This little lady right here is real snippy. And you can tell they're all following orders from Donald Trump, which, I mean, he's their boss. So, you know, I understand that. But the news outlets, they don't have to say anything if they don't want to. You can't make them say anything. This is just the flattery tour, stroking Trump. Do what he wants you to do, or else there is retribution, retaliation, and that's it. So the AP, I think they're suing them for that. And we'll see how that comes along. Now, moving on down to the Department of Education, and Linda McMahon is the woman that he has chose to help lead the Department of Education, the agency that they want to get rid of. And why does everybody that he hire have some crazy skeletons in their closet? There was some kind of embezzlement thing or something. Every one of them, anybody that he picks, has something crazy going on. Those are the kind of people that he's with. Why? She has something going on, but she's like a pro wrestler. She was in his first administration. She's produces the wrestling and all that kind of stuff, fighting. I mean, I don't know exactly. I have to look her up some more. But listen to her being asked by a Republican who was a doctor, and we thought that he was going to make some difference on Robert F. Kennedy, but they all are asking questions like they really care, and you're going to vote for her anyway, so why we even go through it? Here we go.
Do you agree that since the department was created by Congress, it would need an act of Congress to actually close the Department of Education?
And certainly President Trump understands that we'll be working with Congress. We'd like to do this right. We'd like to make sure that we are presenting a plan that I think our senators could get on board with and our Congress could get on board with.
In terms of the plans to downsize, what would be the components of that plan that would not require congressional approval?
Well, I do believe, Senator, that there are departments of education that are established by statute. And those particular departments we'd have to pay particular attention to. But long before there was a Department of Education, we fulfilled the programs of our educational system. Are there other areas, other agencies where parts of the Department of Education could better serve our students and our parents on a local level? And I am really all for the President's mission, which is to return education to the states. I believe, as he does, that the best education is closest to the child, and not certainly
If the
from
department
Washington,
is
D.C.
downsized, would the states and localities still receive the federal?
So her answer to that question was, if it's downsized, will the state still receive the funding? And she said yes. I don't know how I cut that off, but she said yes. But guys, returning it to the states. Do you know why the Department of Education is even here? It's because of separate but equal. Why HBCUs exist is because we couldn't go to school with different. I mean, our schools were substandard. The education was there to stump out racism, to make sure that there was government overreach over the states when it came to education. And there were mandates and laws written because of it. Brown versus the Board of Education. All this kind of stuff. The Department of Education has been a failsafe for our children. It handles a lot of the Head Start programs, the free lunch program. I mean, it does great work. You know, and they've always they want to send it back to the states because, you know, it protects black people. It protects people of color. It protects LGBTQ people. And I'm sorry, but black people are the ones that put all this out here for all the other groups. I'm just going to say that. And that's the reason why all these civil rights are even there. And so here she is, you know, another one of his cronies that has a past. Yes. Look her up. I'll have to look her up and read more about it. I'll tell you more about her. And she's there to help dismantle the education. Betsy DeVos wasn't able to do it in the first term. They tried, but they didn't have complete Senate, House, and everything, and the executive branch. But this time, I don't know. Right now, because Congress created this, they have to go through Congress. They can't just, there's an executive order. He's trying to get rid of it, but he can't do it because Congress created that. So it's going to have to go through the courts. We'll see what that ends up. All right. So why does Trump trust Putin so much? I don't know. Let's see what they're saying.
Do you trust President
I
Putin?
believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down and like demolition sites.
But Putin knocked them down.
Golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people.
He has said that they plan to meet potentially in Saudi Arabia. He did clarify to me that Ukraine will have a seat at the table during those negotiations after some questions in Kyiv about whether or not that would be the case. And as he talked about Putin as well, he also said he believes that Russia should be back in the G7. It used to be known as the G8, that group of countries that meets on a regular basis, but they were kicked down after Putin illegally annexed Crimea when Obama was in office. President Trump says now that he's in office, he does believe Russia should be back.
Russia should be back into the G7, which will be the G8. They kicked him out because he took another country, Crimea. Yeah. So he's just trying to get all those countries back on the USSR. They all became independent nations. If you ever looked at a map, I'm back in school. I can look at a map now. I don't know half the countries that are over there. They go through so many changes, especially the African nations too. They're like changes. Look at a map, guys, and see what's going on. They've acquired here. They're fighting. There's just so much going on. And America has become the peacemaker to try to keep world wars from happening. That's what NATO is all about. But if we let these people go willy-nilly and start just all this going in and capturing countries and taking over, that is a recipe for another world war, which we don't want. We don't want anything like that. No, we don't want. All right, Elon Musk in the Oval Office. Let's see what people are saying about that. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Let's hear it. Let's talk about it.
Did you see Elon Musk this week meeting with world leaders and taking questions from the press in the Oval Office? It's a real show of force from the world's richest man who got even more powerful this week. President Donald Trump signed an executive order this week giving Musk sweeping authorities over the federal government and its 2 million employees. He's installing someone from Musk's Doge team at every federal agency. Senate confirmed cabinet secretaries and agency heads will now need to run their staffing decisions by Doge. It's almost as if these top officials got a new boss.
The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get.
Trump is also giving Musk special privileges that will shield him from scrutiny. Musk was designated as a part-time special government employee. So he'll fill out this financial disclosure form, but it won't be public. We won't get to see the details of Musk's vast conflicts of interest. Also, the White House says it will be Musk himself who gets to decide whether or not he needs to recuse from any decisions that could affect his own companies.
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website.
Critics say this is not real transparency and there are very few guardrails left in place. One expert told me that all of this taken together has turned Elon Musk into the most powerful unelected bureaucrat in American history.
Do you remember Chernobyl? Well, that nuclear power.
All right, so listen to that, guys. All of the secretaries in Trump's administration who used to report directly to the Secretary of State and then to Trump. Now, everybody, no matter who you are, you have to go through Doge. Now, they all had to go through Senate confirmation. He was appointed. Does that make any sense? So you have an appointed guy who's never worked in government, can't be in government a lot of places because of he's not a natural born citizen here, naturalized citizen. He's over them. They're having to pass everything by Doge. Do y'all understand that? You understand that? That's why we're so outraged about Elon. He has way bad proof. Americans, y'all don't like Elon. If you don't like Elon, you ought to be mad about it. Because Trump is just basically just letting him take over. And you need to be upset about it. If you're not upset about it, you need to get there. Research, people. Research. We can't sit back and do nothing. All right, so I want to give just a little good news on something that's been happening with the courts as to what's been going on, so we can see the progress. A lot of the Democratic attorney generals have started mobilizing and together, and they have task force, and they're going hot and heavy in on everything that Trump is doing, in addition to what they have to do in their individual states. So they're working overtime for you. Yes, people are working for you. Those of you that voted, don't think your vote was in vain. You know, those of you that voted for Trump, we're still upset about it. Yes, we are. So we're having to do all this work because of you. Yes, here we go. So judges have issued several significant rulings against the Trump administrations, particularly in the response to controversial executive orders and policies. Here are the key judicial orders so far. So the blocking of the firing of ethics watchdog. This is a federal appeals court blocking President Trump's attempt to fire Hampton Dellinger, the head of the Office of Special Counsel. The court emphasized the need for orderly procedures and limited executive authority in this case. So that's been blocked because according to the way his appointment was, Trump can't fire him like that. So that's been blocked. All right. Blocking executive order on birthright censorship. That is an amendment. Multiple judges have issued preliminary injunctions against this order. Judges have ruled that the order likely conflicts with the constitutional 14th Amendment, halting its implementation. That will probably go to the Supreme Court. God knows what they're going to come back with. Birthright citizenship says if you're born here, you're a citizen. If they come back with some clause, if you have parents or something of an immigration status, they could do that, guys. Supreme Court is not clean. All right. Halting restrictions on gender-affirming care. Judges have granted temporary restraining orders to prevent the enforcement of Executive Order 14187, which seeks to restrict federal funds to hospitals providing gender-affirming care to minors. And this is affecting a lot of the ones that are smaller kids that are going through this. Guys, it's real. I know people don't believe in that, but you have little kids that are really, I know y'all think that it's something going on in their heads or whatever, but there's some science behind some of this. Allowing January 6 lawsuits to proceed. And this is a civil suit. Thompson versus Trump. The D.C. court ruled that presidential immunity does not apply. So he's getting sued still for the Capitol tract, but it's a civil suit. Delaying Justice Department actions. Courts have intervened in controversial Justice Department decisions, including blocking Trump's administration demands for FBI agents. He wanted to put the FBI people that have been undercover, their names on a list. Why? I don't know. So that's been halted. Halted dismissal of criminal cases perceived as politically motivated, including one involving New York Mayor Adams. Dismissal. So that's been halted. And then order protecting states. Federal courts have ruled in favor of states challenging Trump's administration policies, particularly in cases where executive orders conflict with state rule orders. So there's some work being done. And some of these are temporary and they'll probably end up in the Supreme Court, but the judicial branch is working. And a lot of these are not all Democratic judges. Thank God. He's got a few lackeys out there they can go to. They can go to one state and they get this one lady, I can't think of where she was, to do just about anything. But a lot of these are Republican judges as well. Okay. Now, the last thing, guys, before I let you go, is this was an interesting article that Caitlin Collins did from CNN on Trump has gotten his mugshot framed and in the hall to the Oval Office. He's proud of that mugshot when he was arrested in Georgia and all of those crimes and his mugshot. So listen to this. This is just hilarious. Hilarious.
Not only have we never had a U.S. president with a mugshot, I'm not sure we've ever had a mugshot hanging outside of the Oval Office before. But that is where President Trump has placed his from when he was indicted in Fulton County, Georgia, for his efforts to overturn the election. We learned a few days ago he has a framed cover of the New York Post with his mugshot just outside the Oval Office in what is known as the Outer Oval. Now, we discovered this when he was greeting the Indian Prime Minister. They were seated in chairs in front of the fireplace in the Oval, but just over the shoulder of his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, you could see the president's mugshot there as he has it framed. His aide and person who is his social media guru, really, Dan Scavino, posted a video of it saying, "Happy Valentine's Day" from the beautiful Oval Office. This has really become a rallying cry that Trump has used on the campaign trail. They've even...
Isn't it crazy? Here's his mugshot. Okay, be proud of it, Donald Trump. Proud of your mugshot. It's probably one of your better pictures, too. It really is. I mean, your hair was flawless. It looked good. It must have got it done before it went out into the wind. So I think he likes that picture. He likes that picture. But it's a mugshot. You were arrested. It's a mugshot. Oh, well. So, guys, this particular podcast, I just wanted to put some things that are happening out here. And I'm calling this series Trump Watch. Because, guys, if he crosses the line, we have 3 equal branches of government, right? Equal. That's the word, equal. If he crosses and doesn't do what the judicial tells him to do, or Congress tells him to do, then we're on slippery slopes, guys, because there's going to be an uprising. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty if that happens. I don't know what'll happen if that happens. So we just have to see what happens. I don't know. So I'm on Trump Watch. And please, guys, get mobilized. Start listening to things. Read. Understand what's going on. I know you're tired and you're drained from the election. But this is serious stuff. This is where we live. This is where we live. Didn't want to wake up one day and we look like Russia or China or North Korea. I went really far there because I don't think it's that crazy, but who knows? You never know. And before I let you go, the one thing I pondered myself was, if I ever met Donald Trump in person, what would I do? I had to think about it. Would I just run up to him and be all fanned out because he is the president and I've never been close to a president? Answer, no. Would I just look at him in anger and just kind of stand there and do nothing? No. Would I yell out like some crazy person and say something to him and get pulled over by the Secret Service and thrown to the floor? Hell no. But what I would do if I had the chance to say something to him, I would probably say something like, Mr. Trump, we are so disappointed in you. I am very disappointed because the Donald Trump that I grew to know back from the 90s and the 80s, I looked at some guy that was making it happen for himself. And he was some character. And, I mean, I had nothing against him. He talked about wanting to run for president and everything back then. And I was like, okay, he seems to be a guy that wants to do some different stuff. And I was kind of thinking about, he would be a nice guy. That was back then. So I would say, what happened to you? Why are you this angry with the American people that you're doing this to us? Why are you doing this to us? You can't believe that you're helping everybody. You cannot believe that, Mr. Trump. I'm disappointed. And I pray to God that things will change. Now, I know you think you're in control, Mr. Trump, but God is in control. God will get the glory out of whatever you're doing. He's allowed you to be in the White House again. God has allowed this. But God will get the glory. Because what's wrong will come to light. And you've done a lot of things that are wrong, Mr. Trump. And I just want to say, I hope that you would do better than what you did. I really thought you would do the right thing one day. But no. Anyway, that's just something that I thought about. And that was kind of going crazy with it. But I would try to reason with him if I could. But thank you so much for joining me again. This was a long one, guys. I didn't mean to go this long on this episode, but there was just so much stuff to cover. And I just want to make sure that you understand what's going on and know that we are on Trump Watch. And I want to get to some different podcasts. I'm going to have some guests here, hopefully. I got some good ideas for one that we can get some live guests and talk about some things. And maybe we can get some more perspectives on what's going on in America. So you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for joining Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. Goodbye.